Our first case comes from Cumbria, in the north of England. The painting shows a man's face, twisted somewhere between agony and rage, rendered in thick, almost violent brushstrokes. There is no signature. There is no date. There is no gallery record of it ever being sold, exhibited, or cataloged. The current owner is a man named Sean Robinson. He says the painting has been in his family for generations, passed down from his grandmother, and that she told him a specific story before she died. The unknown artist who created this piece mixed his own blood into the paint, and shortly after finishing it, took his own life. For years, the painting simply sat in a cupboard. Robinson's grandmother refused to have it displayed. When Robinson eventually inherited it and hung it in his home, he says the disturbances began almost immediately. Whispering at night, crying with no source, and a shadow-like figure appearing at the edge of the room. In 2010, Robinson set up a small camera near the painting and began posting the footage online. What followed was less a viral video and more a slow-burning obsession. A YouTube channel dedicated entirely to this one painting, still active more than a decade later, with millions of views. Art historians point out the obvious. There is no documentation, no forensic testing of the blood in the paint, and no verifiable record of any artist dying under these circumstances. But that absence is exactly the point. Nobody has ever been able to prove where this painting came from. And nobody has been able to prove it didn't happen the way the story says either. Our second painting isn't rare. It's the opposite. Cheap, mass-produced prints of it hung in an estimated 50,000 homes across Britain by the 1980s. It shows a young boy, mid-sob, tears frozen on his cheeks. The prints are usually attributed to an artist known as Giovanni Bragolin, but that name itself is disputed, not just Some researchers believe it was a pseudonym, and that the true identity of the original painter and the identity of the child in the image were never confirmed. The company that mass-produced the prints kept no reliable records of the original source. The legend attached to it started in 1985, when a British tabloid ran a story claiming that house fires across the country had one common thread. Firefighters kept finding an undamaged print of the crying boy standing upright in the ashes while everything around it burned. The theory that spread was that the painting was cursed, that the boy in it had died in a fire himself, and that his image now carried it with him into every home it entered. Fire investigators eventually offered a mundane explanation. The prints were coated in a fire-resistant varnish, which let them survive heat that destroyed ordinary paper and canvas. But by then, the story had already outrun the science. Readers mailed their copies of the print back to the newspaper by the thousands, and to this day, nobody can say for certain who the boy was who painted him first, or why so many house fires seem to circle back to the same haunted face. Our third case is recent, and it happened in a charity shop in Hastings, on the south coast of England. A batch of donated paintings came in together. 6 or 7 pieces. Nothing unusual. Among them was a portrait of a young girl. The shop manager said it looked quite normal at first glance, priced it at around £20, and put it in the window. A woman came in, looked at the painting, and bought it. Then, she brought it back. No explanation beyond saying the girl in the portrait had a very odd look about her. The staff put it back in the window. Someone else bought it? That buyer returned it too. There is no artist's signature, no date, no record of who donated it or where it came from before that. As photos of the painting spread online, thousands of people weighed in. Some insisting the girl's expression changes depending on the angle you view it from, others pointing out that this is simply how the human eye processes two-dimensional faces staring directly outward. What nobody has been able to do is trace the painting backward. It arrived in a donation bag with no name attached, unsettled two separate buyers, enough that both returned it and then vanished back into private hands. Its origin as blank as the day it showed up on the shop's counter. Our final painting hangs today in the Hotel Galvez in Galveston, Texas, a hotel named after the 18th century Spanish general it depicts. The portrait itself is old, believed to date to the 1700s, but the artist who painted it was never recorded. Unlike a museum piece, this canvas came with the hotel's own history rather than an artist's biography, and over the decades it became inseparable from the building's reputation for the unexplained. Guests and staff have long claimed that the general's painted eyes seem to track them as they pass through the corridor. Others say that photographs taken near the portrait without, as local legend insists, first asking the general's permission, come out blurred or distorted. During one paranormal investigation of the hotel, a team photographing the painting reported capturing what looked like a skeletal translucent figure standing beside it in a single frame, in a series of photos where every other shot came out clear. There is a simple explanation on offer for almost every one of these details. Pareidolia for the moving eyes, lens flare, or dust for the photographs. But the identity of the person who actually picked up a brush and painted General Galvez's face over 200 years ago has never been recovered. The man in the frame has a name. The man who painted him does not.